Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let me thank you for all of you guys for listening our presentation today. I'm going to introduce a little bit about myself. My name is Liên and my partner is Cường. We are group 6. As you can see on the slide, I update with it on the Google Classroom. Our topic today is housing and welfare in Britain. First of all, I will focus on my presentation. I will talk about housing in Britain. My presentation today is divided into 7 parts. I will focus on 7 main ideas. First of all, I will talk about general ideas about housing in Britain. The second one is property. The next one is importance of home and individuality conformity. The part number 5 is interiors. For interiors, I will focus on the importance of coziness. Number 6, I will talk about owning and renting. And last but not least, I will focus on homelessness. Now we start. Move on to the first part. Some general ideas about housing. You know, most people in Britain dream of living in detached house. Detached house is separated house. So I can give you an example. In Vietnamese, in the past, we have a lot of cottages in rural areas, right? In Britain, they like living in detached house because it ensures privacy and is a status symbol. The next point, most people try to avoid living in flats only when they cannot afford to live anywhere else. So it seems that living in flats does not suit British attitudes, right? Second one, I will talk about property in Britain. The image of home as castle implies a clear demarcation between private property and public property. To emphasize this clear division, people prefer to live in houses more than in flats. So do you know how many types of housing in Britain? Alright. There are several types of housing in Britain, and now in this topic today, I will introduce to you 3 main types of housing in Britain. The first one is semi-detached house. The second one is flats, block of flats, and the third one is terraced house. So you know, semi-detached houses are too expensive for most people. The most common building material is brick. The typical semi-detached house has 2 floors and 3 bedrooms. So about flats. Flats, as you know, are not having a separate entrance to the outside world, right? And it does not suit British tastes. And less than 20% of the country's households live in flats of any kind. The third type is terraced house. Terraced house, each house in the row is George the next one. They often have 3 or more floors, perhaps including a basement or semi-basement. You know, basement, it lies under the last floor of the house. In recent decades, many new terraced houses have been built, which are somewhere between 2 extremes above. So the next point, the importance of home. British people have little deep-rooted attachment to their house and object. So they will sell their house when the time and price is right, and they move on to the other house. The houses themselves are just investment. It is extremely rare for people to commission the building of their own houses, because most houses are commissioned by private companies known as property developers who sell them on the open market. To British homeowner, such mobility is terrible misfortune. It's a fact. The fourth point today is individuality and conformity. Flat. As I said in the previous part, flats are popular in Britain, right? Because they don't give enough privacy and scope for the expression of individuality, right? People like to choose the color of their own front door and window frames, and also to choose what they are going to do with a little bit of outside territory. However, not everything about housing in Britain displays individuality. Why? So, because most houses are built by organization, not individuals. Instead, whole streets are built at the same time. For reason economy, all the houses on an estate are usually built to the same design. So to give extra personal, to give extra individuality, some people even give their home a name. So I will move on to the next part, interiors. In this part, I will focus on the importance of coziness. British people like cozy atmosphere in their house. The important thing is to feel cozy. That is to create an atmosphere which seems warm. In fact, almost houses now have central heating, right? Central heating. Yep. They don't focus Especially they don't focus on background of house because they usually use cheap items or mass-produced furniture and so on. Windows, for example, are designed so that they can be conveniently opened to great variety of degrees instead of, as in many other countries, the choice between completely shut and fully open. So now, I will give you an extra point about characteristics of housing in Britain. In any case, not everybody in Britain sees the comforts of modernity as automatically good. To many, part of coziness is the feeling of tradition. You can see on the slide, tradition is part of coziness, such as the open fire. In the past, people used it to keep warmth, so it is perfect traditional symbol of warmth, right? This day, most houses have an imitation open fire. Imitation open fire. Which is complete with plastic coal, which glows red when it's switched on. Why? Because they cause too much pollution. So now we will next to the next point with living room. Most older houses have two general living rooms, the front room and the back room. However, most modern smaller ones have only living room with two doors, back door and front door and back door. The back one is for family and closely friends only. So, I will give you a video to give you extra information about housing in Britain, types of housing in Britain. You can see it on the Google Classroom. Now we will move on to the next part, owning and renting. About 70% of all the houses in Britain are occupied by their owners, and almost all of these were bought with a mortgage. Mortgages are available from building societies, banks, and other financial institutions. So, the proportion of occupiers tend to increase more than council tenants and tenants from private landlords in numbers. Besides, housing associations, which are non-profit making, are now the main providers of additional low-cost housing for rent and for sale to those on low incomes and in the greatest housing need. the housing association sector is expanding rapidly and providing homes for well over 1 million people. The last point today is homelessness. So you know the number of people who have nowhere to live in Britain vary. At that time, a lot of people lost their jobs and can't afford the monthly mortgage payments. This fact made them be in debt as well as homeless. Standing from this fact, charitable organizations and local council provide place to live for most homeless families and single people. Thousands of single people simply live on the streets where they sleep rough. So, do you know about the differences between UK and Britain housing? Okay, now we will watch the video number 2 to get more extra information about this one. Alright, now we watch the video. So after you watching the video, that's all of my presentation today about housing in Britain. If you have any question or you want to give me some comments, please feel free to give it to me. And thanks for listening.